Welcome one and all. I'm Mark Passio of WhatOnEarthIsHappening.com. I'm here today as part of the Freedom Under Natural Law 2 conference. Thank you to all of the organizers of this great event, and thank you for inviting me to speak here today. My presentation today is entitled De facto Satanism. And this is a topic that I've been wanting to drill into for quite a long time and paved the groundwork for when I did the Demystifying the Occult seminars, especially Demystifying the Occult Part 2. So this is going to be sort of an extension and addendum to that second part of Demystifying the Occult, which I entitled Satanism and the Dark Occult. This presentation specifically is about what it is to be a de facto Satanist, which we'll talk about in a few moments. So let's jump in, and as always, before I deliver a full presentation, I always begin with some caveats to the viewing audience. You will not be seeing or hearing anything new here today. As the ancient saying goes, there is nothing new under the sun. This ultimately means that the truth is objective and eternal. It has always been here. It will always be here. All that I can do as a presenter is to present my findings in a personalized framework with my particular style and aesthetics applied to the presentation. But the truth remains the truth. And there is really nothing new in that regard. So for people who are always expecting new revelations and for all of this new information to come out, you're going to be disappointed, because this is basically the same thing that has been going on. It's just I'm explaining it in a way that hopefully will get more people to understand it and recognize it as the truth. That is the only difference in this dynamic of how I do my presentations. The second caveat I always give is, if you're a mental child, this presentation isn't for you. So this presentation is not for psychological children. It is for mature adults psychologically who are ready and able to hear the truth. And it is not for those people who appear to be adults bodily, physically, yet they have the psychological mentation of a small child who attempt to think and reason with their emotions. You cannot think with your emotions. You cannot reason with your emotions. If you come at a presentation like this from a perspective of feelings only or emotions only, once again, you're not going to be able to hear it, comprehend it, and truly incorporate it into your existing understanding of our world. So this presentation is not for those people. It is for people who have psychologically matured to a point where they can hear truth that is not sugar-coated. And again, that brings me to my third caveat before we begin. My presentation is very often intense and at times even combative. People have described it as such. I will not sugarcoat my words or my delivery. Some people who watch this presentation may very likely become very upset or angered by what I have to say during this presentation, and that's fine. So be it. That will never make this material untrue. The truth, by its very nature, is belligerent because it wages war against all forms of deception and mind control. I've never been a person that sugarcoats my delivery style, and I'm not going to start now. I'm going to talk to people like they are intelligent adults who are capable of critical thinking, and if you're not, then this presentation really isn't for you. And I say that openly before any of my presentations begin, at the risk of even frightening away people before they hear the first word I have to say, because I'm not about convincing everybody. I am about helping people who want the truth to understand what is taking place in our world. And then the babies can go and do whatever they want to do. This information is not for them. Here's why I do this work overall. I don't present information like this to be liked. This isn't going to get you many friends, to make money, or to make friends. I speak publicly because I recognize that in the crisis of overwhelming ignorance and deception in which we all now live, I have a personal moral obligation to communicate what I know to be taking place in our world in order to help others to understand it as well, so that they can then take action and do something about it. And I'm going to begin today with the dictum of what I really want to communicate about all of this, and about what we really should be doing as individuals in this world at the current time in history in which we live. And that's this quote from Immanuel Kant that is, "Do the right thing because it is right." And a lot of people may, disagree with that, or may think that that's some, statement that is seeing the world through rose-colored glasses or something like that. But that is ultimately what we have to direct our behavior toward, the moral right. Even if we cannot, quote-unquote, win. And I still think we have a chance of turning the world situation around. But I don't do this for reward. This lifestyle, this, speaking of this type of information to people who are often very resistant to it isn't going to get you much worldly reward. I do this because I have recognized it as the morally correct thing to do, and that's the only reason that I ultimately continue to do this type of work. As William Penn said, right is right even if everyone is against it, and wrong is still wrong even if everyone is for it. I'm going to stand for what is right. I'm going to speak what is morally right and communicate the truth regardless of what it means for me in the physical domain, because it is the right thing to do as an individual. That being said, there is some basic prerequisite knowledge to understand what I'm going to teach in this presentation. So I recommend the entire Demystifying the Occult series. As always, I recommend all of my podcasts at whatonearthishappening.com to get the full framework of this information. But in the short term, if you simply watch Demystifying the Occult Part 2, Satanism and the Dark Occult, a presentation that I delivered back in Philadelphia back in 2016, you'll get the general framework for what Satanism and dark occultism is in general. And of course, we're going to review some of that, but of course, time doesn't permit for the review of an entire presentation like this. So if you want a full framework for what I'm talking about here in de facto Satanism, do indeed watch Demystifying the Occult Part 2, Satanism and the Dark Occult. So let's jump into the material. This first section is entitled Satanism, Belief versus Reality. And there's a huge chasm. It's a huge divide of what people believe Satanism to be versus what Satanism truly, actually is in our world. So let's look at the difference. You see images like this in what people believe Satanism to be, a worldwide belief system of what Satanism is, and it's completely incorrect. It's childish, it's naive, it's kind of asinine. And